All right, welcome to the Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss podcast. And today we're doing simultaneously video and audio like I do sometimes with my interviews. So whether you're listening to it just in audio or are catching us on YouTube or some other platform, welcome. And today I have a very special guest. Her name is Lisa Huria. Am I saying that right, Lisa?
You are, yes.
Hey, cool. I have a little bit of that Mexican practice of Spanish speaking.
Yeah.
So Lisa is a jack of all trades in my world, actually. Lisa is now working for me on my Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss team, and she does such a great job. And what makes Lisa unique and why I wanted to have her on the podcast today is because she actually is a graduate of my Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss program. And her story, I believe, is super transformational for other people that are going to be able to listen to this. And I wanted her to get a chance to share her story today about what it was like before she started the program and what it's like now after graduating the program, and especially the process that she took to get herself into the program. Because something that I see a lot as I'm talking to more and more people every day, mostly women, but I do have men in the program, is that they come up against marital conversations or spousal conversations around their ability to invest or their ability to make a decision or trust their own decisions. And sometimes that objection really gets in the way of people kind of breaking free and getting on the path of freedom and health and happiness that they really want. There's so much that comes along with that, communication wise and personal boundary wise. And there's a lot with that. And I know that I've expressed on podcast episodes in the past that something that I really feel inspired by was originally when I started my business and having my business card say women's empowerment and inner peace. And yeah, I think that Lisa is absolutely a testament to that kind of women's empowerment and just that fearless force of nature going towards and after what it is that she wants and not taking no for an answer. And I celebrate that. And something that I know about the people who have had most success in my program, it's not a coincidence that Lisa has this story and she's now on my team, is that the people who take the fastest action and the most risk, right? I have a fast action discount for people who sign up right after their initial or on the initial call with me, because I know at this point that the people who do take that action fast, they get the best results in the program. And I want that for them. It's this muscle that you get to exercise within yourself of trusting yourself, trusting your intuition, knowing that this is what I need, taking that action now, and then your program and the rest of your life ends up following in that same path of alignment. So Lisa, welcome, and just thank you for being willing to do this for all the people out there that are listening today. And yeah, if you wouldn't mind just starting to share a little bit about where you were before we found each other.
Yeah, thank you so much for not only having me, but for doing what you do. My life is amazingly better because of the help that you've been able to give me. So I have so much love for you. So where I was before I met you, in one word, was miserable. I think a lot of people can relate to that. I'm 31. I've got two small boys that are 4 and 7, and they're crazy. They don't stop moving, especially not at bedtime. I was a manager of a hospital service at downtown Indianapolis. I am a wife, and a lot of stuff going on. Very, very busy. But I was stuck. I was so stuck in a miserable relationship. I was stuck in a miserable role in a miserable company. I love my kids and I loved them, but I was stuck feeling like a horrible mom and feeling like just a horrible woman in so many ways. And I think one of the moments I can replay in my head is my boys were downstairs in the basement and kind of being their demanding boys when they're hungry selves, and being so angry at the world and at them and at my husband and at my job and at everything, because everybody else got to live their life the way that they wanted to, and I didn't. Right? And I remember walking upstairs wanting to punch and kick in a wall and like break dishes. It's the most lonely and angering feeling that I've experienced. And it's not just a solitary moment. That was how I felt 24/7, right? I had felt like this for years. But I just remember that moment, just being so angry. Like, why don't I get to be important? Why am I never a priority to anybody else? Why is it crazy all the things that I need and want, right? Why does everybody else get to do it, but when I get to ask for something or I need to do something, that's crazy. You shouldn't have to do that. You should be fine without it. You don't need that. That's too expensive. We can find another way, or you suck it up, And that might be partly because I live in a, small bubble of boys, right? I am kind of the isolated female in my house, but so just stuck in misery, loneliness. I was overweight. Honestly, don't know by how much, but maybe like 50 or 60 pounds. I'm not quite 5 feet tall, super short, so everything just kind of gets squished in there and shows. So on top of being miserable with my life, I was super miserable with the way that I felt in my clothes, and I have been for a long time, but I didn't have any motivation to do anything about it, and I didn't know what was going to motivate me. And I had dieted in the past and been successful, but eventually it came back, and I had these thoughts like, I'm not going to be able to lose weight if I have stress in my life, because I can't handle stress. I don't know how to deal with life. That's just the way. Either I find a way to have a life without stress, and then I can look good and feel good, or this is just the way that it is. And wine and margaritas were my best friend, because they were what helped me kind of numb out to, everything that was happening in my life, and everything that I could see not happening the way that I wanted it to, and the way that I was dreaming of things being, right? So it was just a really terrible place to be. And when I found you, I wasn't searching for a weight loss solution. I kind of had given up at that point, I think. But I was looking for coaches, to just like-minded people, because I also enjoy coaching people, and happened to find you on LinkedIn, and you reached out and were like, I help people with this. Do you need that? And I was like, holy shit, yeah. and that's where it all started. And that was kind of the backstory in a nutshell.
That's really important. And I think you painted the picture really, really, really well. I'm glad that you mentioned all the different aspects of yourself and the kind of life that you were leading, because that's exactly the type of mostly women that I'm talking to on a regular basis who are listening to this podcast. So just hoping that they're hearing themselves in that, and appreciate your willingness to just share the actual reality of the way you were feeling. Even the anger, I see anger all the time. I have a podcast just on anger. And yeah, absolutely. So just thanks for sharing that. Yeah, perfect. And then, so I love that. And then you and I had some conversation back and forth via LinkedIn. And then we had a longer, deeper dive conversation into what was actually happening for you. And so the part that so if you could just, in a couple sentences, describe what your major, if you remember, aha moment or breakthrough was on that call, or what happened for you there. And then when we got to the part about the investment and what was going on with you and your family financially and the actions that you took next.
Yeah. I actually can remember one part really well, and it's already making me really emotional. I first of all had to literally run away to my van to be able to talk to you, because no one would leave me alone. No one ever leaves me alone, right? To like have me time. I think moms can relate to that in general, but I don't know. I felt like I didn't have permission to have my own space. So I literally had to lock myself in there. And yeah, my kids came and tried to find me and open the door, and they couldn't.
I remember that.
This time was important, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I remember sitting in my van in front of my house, and I don't remember much besides this really pivotal moment in our conversation, where I was explaining to you how miserable I was in my marriage. And I think you asked me the question because I was expressing like I'm not sure if this is working, right, between him and I don't know if this is going to work, and I desperately want it to work. I've got so much invested, and I love him, and I like a lot of things that we've built life together, and I don't want to destroy everything. It's gonna be off. I don't want that. And I remember you asking me, but is that your truth in some form or fashion? And I remember telling you, I don't want it to be. And I think in that moment, I realized that so much of my pain was coming from this place of me avoiding being truthful to myself about what I wanted, about what I was okay with, about trusting myself and my intuition. And I still at that point didn't want to talk about that, because I didn't want to have to face the fact that it might not be the right relationship. It might not be the right thing. I might have to say some things that are really hard, because a lot of what was keeping me safe, quote unquote, and not hurting was not facing the things that, would make me discover that somebody didn't like me, or I wasn't good enough. They didn't approve of it. And it was too painful. But at this point in my life, and talking to you in that moment, I realized that part of me that was keeping me safe from that hurt was actually what was now causing me that pain, because I wasn't living the life that I wanted to. And I had to face the facts that there are things that I'm going to have to deal with now that people aren't going to like, especially people close to me potentially. And I knew that was going to hurt to go through that. But I also knew in talking to you that you were a safe place to explore and express and figure that out. But yeah, that was a tough realization, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you again for sharing it. And yeah, and I think it's important to say, yeah, those conversations, that I have with people, it's always so much deeper than the food. And I think I've made that really clear on this podcast that, when you get to a place when every diet under the sun has failed and you're just where you were, where it's like, I just pretty much gave up. It's like, we got to really address the stuff that's happening underneath it that causes the emotional and stress eating and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, like getting for you the marriage. And I have another client who also, that was something that really came up on the initial call, was about her marriage and the different behavioral things that, she encountered with her husband. And it doesn't always necessarily have to be, whatever the worst case scenario that people think of, physical or whatever abuse. It could be some verbal, it could be, just the things that we tolerate. And the love is absolutely still there. And I remember saying to both of you, because sometimes we're just not ready to take those kinds of actions, but we do know on a soul or subconscious level that we do need to do something. And then to be able to support you of not saying, hey, your marriage has to end right this second, or because the reality is we don't know. And
Right.
until, the awarenesses are broad and we keep working on ourselves, different things become apparent to us along our way. And both of you have shown tremendous courage in being brave enough to communicate the things that are necessary. And it doesn't necessarily, you're both still in your marriages and you're still making it work, but and as challenging as it was, I'm sure for you as well, but I remember this other client also telling me to have those conversations that basically draw the boundary and the line of what's okay, what's not okay. It's so much, she said it was so much more painful to not have that conversation and to be scared of what the outcome was going to be than it was to actually have the conversation and to just let it go
Yeah.
after that. And so, yeah, just really acknowledging your bravery and courage in that. And yeah, the commitment that it takes to, work on yourself and your family and your life and your marriage and all the things at the same time. And the truth is that sometimes we're not ready yet, and we do just have to go the course and take it one step at a time. So thank you for that. And so, yeah, and then that kind of brings us to the next part about, when we talked about the investment and then the things that
Yeah.
came up with your marriage and your husband and the actions you took there.
Oh yeah, that was, I mean, right away I knew that I needed your help because this was what was going to get me past all of these hard things. And so, and and you helped me in that conversation, right? What is your truth? And I was able to, in that moment, trust myself and trust my, my desire to be happy and to be, feeling good and to, be a strong woman and have boundaries and all of that. I trusted myself for a moment, and it really felt good to know that what I wanted and what I needed is perfectly fine, and I can trust that, right? And so I knew that I needed your help. But then immediately all these terrifying fears of that conversation with my husband about what actions it's going to take, right? The financial investment to do this was like, no way. Like, I can't even have that conversation. And you're amazing because you were like, I can help you have that conversation. I'm like, thank you, God. Thank you. Because I was not strong enough. But I knew that was why I needed your help, because I needed to grow these muscles and to be able to trust that what those muscles are doing, right, to help me live this wonderful life and be this wonderful person that I was made to be, that's healthy and normal, right? But I wasn't strong enough then. But I knew I needed your help, and I knew that you could help them make that change. And so, I didn't have the money just laying around. I was not horribly off. I had a good job as a manager, but I had a lot of things to take care of. I was sending kids to school and to daycare, and groceries for a house full of boys is not cheap, So I didn't just have, spending money or even savings money anywhere. But I knew that I had to figure out something. And I remembered that, I was able to talk to the company where I have a loan still out for my van, because I'm a soccer minivan mom. And was able to take out a loan from them. And so I called them up and I was like, I need to do this. How can we make this happen? And, you know, within, I don't know, a day, I sent you that money, and it was so freaking scary, but it felt so freaking good because I was like, I'm going to freaking do this for myself. I care about myself, right? And guess what? I didn't tell him yet because I knew that if I gave him a chance to have a conversation with me about it, it was going to be so difficult to come back to a place where I trusted and believed in myself that I made the right decision to do that. Because that was one thing that is just kind of a pain point in our relationship. He's really good at like convincing me that I don't need it, or no, it's not really important, or something else is more important, you know. And a lot of those things have validity when you're raising a family and, you know, living life together. But I just knew that I was going to be somehow either convinced out of it or just made to feel so bad just because he didn't latch on with being excited about it with me, that I was just going to not do it. I knew that I had to just do it and then let him know, right? I mean, what's the saying? Like, you just do it and you apologize later. that was my motto in the moment. And I am so glad that I trusted myself in that moment. And oh my God, it's been the best investment I've ever made. And I would sell my car, my van, if I had to, and walk everywhere if I had to do this all over again, because it's helped me start to get my life back and me back. It's the greatest gift. It's priceless.
Absolutely amazing. I'm just like totally enraptured by your saying it. It's like almost like a spectator, as it's just so moving. It's amazing, and that's why you're here. And yeah, I think there's so many people that I talk to where I do get on the phone, which we'll get to next, you know, with their spouses and stuff. And a lot of times it's before the decision is made. And I'm pretty sure for you, you did put a deposit down on the call to hold your spot, to be able to get
my
discount. And yeah, within 24 hours, I was like, wow, this girl is serious, you know, like good for her. It's amazing. Had the rest of the payment, or the majority, or one of the first payments. And yeah, and so the bravery that it takes, because, you know, if I could have it one way, you know, for all of these calls that I have with mostly women, it would be that they did exactly what you're talking about, of like, trust yourself in that moment, because it's true that as soon as you go away, your mind or your spouse or your mom or whoever you talk to will most likely convince you out of it and get you back into that lower part of your mind that is looking at safety and responsibility, and right, about taking these kinds of financial investment risks. And I think the key word there is investment, because I say to people sometimes, you know, if I was asking you to buy, you know, to spend this money on, you know, a brand new car when you're in the situation you're in, I would definitely not have integrity, and I wouldn't advise it, you know. I would advise you to sell your car, like you're saying, to get this, because this is quality of life. This is getting you back. This is getting clarity on what matters to you, and taking action, learning how to get emotional mastery. And therefore also, I mean, it's health insurance for the future as well, because if you continue to keep eating in the way that you're eating because of stress and anxiety from not taking action on the areas of your life that aren't working, I mean, I used to work as a nurse. I know where that ends up for people. And that's where the diabetes happens. That's where the, you know, all of the, you know, things that kill you later on in life. And so it's like, we got to do this now, or first of all, you know, you'll be wasting these precious years of your life that you could be enjoying it. Like, how much longer can you be like, how much longer can you let yourself feel that bad? And, you know, as I get on the phone with couples, because not everybody's as brave as Lisa is in that moment, which I absolutely love your intuition, Lisa. Like, you very much know your truth when you land on it and you take action. And that is the way to be. Like, that is, it's just incredible. But when I do have those phone calls with the couples, sometimes they hear the investment rate and it's just immediately no. And, there's a certain level of trusting that maybe it's not the right time for them or whatever. And for me as a leader, just always wanting to make sure that they really understand what it is that we're talking about here. This isn't just a quick fix diet or something like that. This is learning tools that change your life for the rest of your life that you can go back to at any time, and all areas of your life are impacted in positive ways. So, yeah, just if I could have a million Lisas, I would be very happy for the world, to be honest. So, anyway, yeah, thank you for that. And then, yeah, so if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about when we did get on the phone with your husband.
Yeah. Yeah, that call, I was super nervous. I was expecting the worst, which is not horrible. Like, I didn't expect him to, like, I don't know, stomp through the house away from the phone call. Not that. But I expected him to be upset. I expected him to kind of feel threatened by you and by me and the actions I was taking, and not trust me, and just like really kind of either lash out in some way or just withdraw. And I was so shockingly surprised, happily surprised at how well the call went. You know, I also was not seeing part of the good in him. I was focusing on so much of the bad that's what I was assuming was going to happen. And, he actually was very caring and understanding and somewhat supportive of the work that you do, right? He and I long ago used to connect over, consciousness in the mind and just higher thoughts and things like that. So it was not something that he was completely disconnected from, which I love about him, and that's part of our relationship, and that's part of what resonated with him in the call. And he was super nice, and he was very polite, and and I think I remember his eyes just kind of did a bug eye when he heard what the amount was, and that I had already done it.
Mm-hmm.
And I caught himself a little not responding. But yeah, he was super pleasant with the whole call, and I just felt so good. Like, oh my gosh, this wasn't my worst nightmare, right? It was very much the opposite. Now, we had many conversations after that kind of he finally was brave enough to express how he really felt, which was not completely supportive or understanding. But that initial phone call, you were so good explaining things to him. You found things to relate to him with. My husband is Mexican, and you spent a great deal of time there. And so just talking about those things that you can relate to, that it makes you who you are just as a person and somebody that cares, and you're not just this like robot of a of a person trying to get finances from people for something that you don't care about. You were somebody that conveyed kindness, and you were this person, not just some robot. So yeah, that was kind of my recollection of that call.
Yeah, absolutely. It's similar to my recollection of that call. And he was so great. He was so cute and generous. And, I remember him saying, well, I'm not her dad, so I can't like tell her what to do.
That's
and,
right.
He had all the thoughts of it was great. I really appreciated him a lot. And I think what's also great, and I think it's important that you share that afterwards he did, express some other thoughts that came up about not being as supportive. But what's great about that is you're already in the program, and then that's part of the work. That's what we identified on your call as being your major obstacle, was this relationship. And so, you did the first scariest thing. And I'll say for everybody listening is that always, 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 always. So first of all, I very rarely, after starting to do this podcast, am ever on the phone with somebody who I 100% know or don't know that this can't help. Like I know 100% sure that everybody I talk to from this podcast, and they are sure of it too. You know, they're like, yes, I'm ready to go. This is exactly what I need. And then whatever stops a person, right, from taking that leap of faith is the thing that stops them in all areas of their life, right? So, and they think that it's the investment rate. They think it's the money, right? And we all would think that. And I remember one of the first times I made a major investment in coaching for myself. I've invested in coaching so many times, so I scare myself off the cliff all the time. But one of the first times I felt like it was about the money for me. And I thought, you know, oh, I can't afford it. Oh, it's too expensive, whatever. But then really kind of getting for myself that it actually had nothing to do with the money. It was because I was so scared, because if I actually invested this, it would mean that my whole way of being from the past would have to change forever. I was no longer going to be able to get away with, right, just, you know, being in a different position than I was in, and all of that kind of stuff. So making that leap of faith, and getting that support. So yours in particular was the marriage. And so you got the major transformation because you faced that fear of, oh my God, he's going to be mad at me. Maybe he's going to leave me. Maybe he's going to, right. And you face it head on, and then you get that support all going on. And then that's what also allowed for, I believe, your major breakthroughs in your eating and drinking and all of that kind of stuff, because you were able to handle the stress. And once you get over that major fear the first time, it gets a little bit easier, you know, after that, to continue facing that fear, which allows for movement in your life. So really acknowledging that. Yeah. And I was going to say one other thing to that point, but it might have lost me at this point. Anyway, so yeah. And I know. So when people are at that point, so yours was the marriage. For other people, it is their finances, right? They have a history with finances, and I can't trust myself with finances, or maybe they've invested in the past in something and it didn't work. Like whatever is happening for someone after they are 100% sure that this is the program that can help them, and I'm sure that this is the program that can help them, it's like, okay, let's become aware of what's the actual thing that's scaring you, because this is also what's scaring you in your life. And it's also what's keeping you stuck in food prison, if we can, you know, say that term. So really great. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Perfect. And then,
yeah. And just to follow up that point, going back to that conversation I said we had, that initial consultation where, you know, you were asking me, is that your truth? And I'm like, I don't want it to be that. That's exactly what you're saying, you know, realizing that it's not because I don't have motivation to food prep every week. It's not because I don't have motivation or a willingness to work out or drink water or go to sleep every night when I'm supposed to. All those things that, right, that we all know we're supposed to do to keep ourselves feeling good and you know, be healthy. I was scared to deal with that thing. That was the issue, not the weight. That was what was causing me to just snowball in the area that was causing me, you know, to gain weight and just be miserable and all that stuff. So yeah, exactly what happened.
Yeah, exactly. And again, when we face that ultimate fear the first time, like it's the scariest part is to make the investment and to say yes, because that's the part of us that is most afraid, but it is also the part that's holding you back from. It's crazy. It's so cool. As a consciousness expert, it blows my mind. And, you know, just to be able to translate that over to people, like, this is your whole life in like one nutshell of a submission of a button. Like, you're literally having a breakthrough right now. So there's nothing more than I like to congratulate someone than when they get past that fear, because it's scary. Especially if it's someone's first time investing themselves. And then after that, it becomes a no-brainer. And then you just keep investing, because you realize every time you do, it just gets better and better. So yeah, but
exactly.
It's scary. Perfect. Awesome. And then, yeah, now you're a graduate of the program. So what would you say were your major wins or breakthroughs as a result of that? And obviously, you know, it's an ongoing journey. So of course you're still in it and now part of the team. So having that, but yeah, what would you say were your biggest breakthroughs?
Yeah, well, so many, but some of the biggest ones were realizing that I could trust myself. And, you know, I'm still learning in different moments things come up, but realizing that I can trust myself to know what it is that I need and what's important to me. That was pretty big. In terms of like, you know, food and all of that, I don't, I'm not a slave to alcohol anymore. I don't have to run and pour myself a glass of wine when my husband and I are fighting, because that's the only way that I'm gonna stay like from having a panic attack, and B, have like the courage to speak during that conversation. So yeah, alcohol was a big one that it's just like, I don't want it. I don't need it. I don't need to have wine in order to be myself, to be bold enough to be speaking my truth. That was a big one for me. Those were the biggest ones. Obviously just like learning how to look at what the real issue is. Just like you were just saying, like food is not usually the issue. It's usually something way deeper that makes you turn to food to either numb out or feel more comfortable. And learning how to talk to myself and find out what it is that's actually bothering me, and healing myself and comforting myself, and not needing to do that with food. So those are some of the biggest things. And I've lost weight. I haven't weighed myself, so I have no idea if the scale has changed, but I feel better in my clothes. I've, you know, taken action to wear my clothes differently so that I love my body more, so I feel more comfortable, so I feel more beautiful. I love the way that I look. I have purple hair now, which I never was able to do before.
It's so great too. I love it.
Yeah, I have always just kind of blended in, trying to look my best, you know, with blonde hair usually. But yeah, it's always been terrifying before to like be wild and crazy and bold, right? And stand out, because I didn't want that attention. I didn't want anybody to not approve of that, because then I'd have to deal with that, right? That hurt. But now I love what I love. And I love my purple hair, and I'm a badass, and I'm a nerd, and I'm everything, and I can be all of that and still love myself.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that makes me so happy. Absolutely. It like brought me back to, you know, as much as, you know, someone could have a judgment about music festivals, but I just, you know, the awarenesses that you can have of being in that place where, you know, you can be loved and accepted just the way you are, you know, let your freak flag fly. Everybody's got a certain element of that. You know, I say to people, like, a lot of some of the inner beliefs that I see with people a lot is that they have this deep seated fear that they are crazy, you know, and someone's going to like put them in a psych ward or something like that. And I always say to people, like, yeah, you are crazy, and so is the rest of the world. And what's crazy is that nobody's acknowledging the fact that we're all crazy. Like,
right.
we're all these adults pretending that we don't have these like intense emotions or fears or things that are happening, and then we find ways to look like adults all the time, right? And drink that wine or drink whatever that alcohol is to kind of numb away that stuff, and food as well. And it does work, and until, you know, there's the part of us that knows that it's not working anymore, and our life, we see ourselves kind of spiraling down in a different way. And yeah, just spreading that hope that there is absolutely a way out that can feel even more better, where you can have it all and get to express all parts of yourself and be loved and accepted just the way that you are. So I love that you brought about the purple hair. That makes me
absolutely
so
yeah.
cool. Yeah, and it's just been a joy to watch you expand and grow. I just need to say that. I mean, even all the way to the purple hair, but just see you every day show up and see your level of joy and happiness start to spread and come back to, you know, who you knew that you were even before the marriage or whatever, you know, your way of being naturally. And yeah, embracing all areas of your life, and just being able to now make a difference for all these other mostly women that are listening to the podcast, and all the ways that you help us out at Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss. So thank you so much for your service. You have such a beautiful heart, and I just so appreciate you, Lisa. Thank you so much.
It's so my pleasure.
So good. Awesome. And then as a departing message, what would be something that you would love to share with the audience out there listening if you had one message to give them?
Well, I would give them what I would say to myself, which is, you are perfectly awesome in all the different parts of you. The ones that you think are bad, the ones that you think are frustrating, the ones that you love but you hide. All of the parts of you are amazing the way that they are.
Wow.
And you can love yourself. All of the parts. Yeah.
You're gonna make me cry. So good.
So
No, it's really, really, really true and beautiful. Yeah. And, just to take it one step farther, that is unconditional love, is learning how to love and accept all parts and not hide parts, and get that you absolutely can be loved with all the different parts. And the way to have other people love us with all the parts is to learn how to love ourselves for all the parts, all of them. So yeah, that's what I want for the world. And so thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I think this is the best interview I've ever done. No offense to anybody else I've interviewed in the past, but no, really, thank you for your heart, Lisa. It's really beautiful.
Yeah. And I have so much love for you, Leslie. I can't wait to tackle the rest of the world with you and help so many people.
Absolutely. Yeah. And on that note, for all the listeners, you know how to find me, I hope, at this point. You'll either be contacting Lisa or myself. So coachmeleslie@gmail.com is the email. And leslieandthornton.com/weight loss training is a way for you to get that access to a free training, and hopefully later down the line, a phone call with Lisa and myself. So thank you very much, and hope to talk to a lot of you really soon. Bye.